Trying to find if f of x and g of x are inverses of each other. Okay, if they are inverses of each other, okay, you do your little composite functions. So it'll be like f of g of x equals x, or g of f of x equals x. Okay, I'm explaining it right now. Okay, so for number 3, okay, I want to find out if, sorry, that's number, this is just a example. I'm going to make a tip. Okay, so number 3, you have f of x equals x cubed plus 8, g of x equals cube root of x minus 8. Okay. So the first one we're going to do is the f of g of x. Okay. And all you do is you write your f of x, right? So I'm going to write my f of x, but I'm going to fill in g of x in place of x. So my g of x is this, right? And I'm just going to write in this. I'm going to fill it in here. So this part is going to go in for the x right here. Okay. So I'm just going to write, so this would just be cube root of x minus 8. All that is cubed, right? Because it's just x cubed, all of this cubed. Okay? And then you got to write plus 8. Plus 8. Okay? If we break this down, right, the cube root and then the cubed exponent, that cancels each other out. So that's canceled out. You're left with whatever's inside. So you have x minus 8, and then you bring the plus 8 down. Plus 8. Okay? Minus 8 plus 8, that's 0. So it just equals x. So you can put a check mark. Okay, because that clears out. Alright, that means, okay? Now we got to check the g of x. G of f of x. Okay? So now we're going down here. G of f of x, okay, equals, right? So we're writing the g of x and we're replacing this in for the g of x. Okay, so I have the cube root of, in place of x, you're putting this whole equation. X cubed plus 8 minus 8. Everything is inside, right? Because we're writing this one. Okay. Plus 8 minus 8, that gives me 0. So I'm just left with the cube root of x cubed. Okay. And the cube root and the x cubed cancel each other out. Cancel each other out. So you're just left with x. Okay, you're just left with x. Okay. Do we need another example, or are you good with that, the inverse part? Somebody speak for the class.
Last one.
One more?
Yeah, I don't really get it now.
You don't get this part? Okay, so do one more example. Okay, number 4, example 4. All right, so basically, you got to make sure if it says, gives you f of x and g of x, to find out if they're inverses of each other, you put them in together. You pretty much combine them, okay? And if that equals x, then they are inverses of each other. Both have to equal x, right? Because this one equal x and this one equal x, okay? So I'm going to have my f of x here, right? I'm going to fill in my g of x for the, it's not hard to explain, but I don't want to confuse you, okay? So you have an f of x, right? You have this equation. Imagine we didn't have the g. For that x, for this x, we put in this whole equation for g. And then we solved it. Okay? So we're going to do number 4. Okay, number 4, you have f of x is x minus 2 cubed. Then you got your g of x, which is just cube root of x plus 2. Okay, those are the two equations I give you. So now I got to check if this would be true and if this would be true. Okay, so the first one, right, I'm going to do f of g of x. Okay, f of g of x. So I'm going to write out my f of x equation, but instead of putting the x, I'm going to put in the equation g. Okay, so I'm going to have my parentheses. Okay, instead of x, I'm putting in the equation g. So I'm going to have 3 cube root of x plus 2. Okay, in the parentheses, and I'm just bringing in the rest of this equation. Right, so I plug this in place of x, and I'm bringing in the rest of this equation. So minus 2 cubed. Okay, minus 2 cubed. Okay. You cannot do anything with this because your cube root and your other term are not inside of the cube root, so it's hard to do anything with it. Okay, you can't do nothing with it. You can't simplify it. You can't get it down to x. So this is not true. Okay, so that means the whole thing is not true. All right, I'm gonna do one more example that will give you that they're true. Okay, let me find it. So we have C. So number 5. No, these are not good examples. All right, I'm just going to go back and explain number 4 then. Okay, we're going to go back to number 3. Okay, this one is not true. It's not going to be true, so they're not inverses of each other. Okay, so you can put inverses of each other. Okay, and then I'm gonna explain it real quick. All right, so again, so we took the first one, right? We're trying to find f of g of x. Oh, that was freaking bell. Okay, we took the first one, right? Took the first one, f of x, so we have x cubed plus 8. This is what we wrote, right? So it's still plus 8 cubed. Instead of putting x, we put in g, this equation g, put it in place of it, okay? Then when you do the math, right, if you take the cube root and cube, those cancel out, so you're just left with x minus 8, and then it's plus 8 at the end, all right? Minus 8 plus 8, that gives you 0, so that cancels out, so you're just left with x, okay? And once you're left with x, that's what we're trying to get to, so that's good, you checked it off, okay? Then you got to do it the other way around. So since we put the g in f, now we got to put f in g. Okay, so we wrote g down, and we put f inside of g in place of x. So we wrote g down, right? Cube root of cube root of x minus 8. But x is this equation here because that's equation f. Put that in place of it. Okay. Did plus 8 minus 8, that cancels out to 0. So you're only left with x cubed. Okay? Then you have cube root of x cubed. That cancels out, so you're left with x. And that's how they're inverses of each other. Okay? Does that make a little bit more sense?
Nah, I got it.
Okay. Number 4, you can't simplify any further, so they're not inverses. So not inverse of each other.